Menstrual cycles is something that's a very, very normal way of life for us athletes, and it's something we need to deal with very early. And you know what? Even world champions and Olympic champions have had to deal with it at some stage. I must admit I have competed with my periods at some stage, so it's pretty easy to cope with. Using tampons for the first time can be a very, very difficult issue, but if you get the right person to teach you the right way, we all know how to do it.
Your menstrual cycle is an important part of your life, and so it's important that you understand how it affects you. So you can use it to an advantage if you know how it impacts on how you normally perform and behave. You can definitely use your cycle to your advantage, because if you know your body well, then you can manage it really well so that you can perform at your best consistently. Many of the Olympic athletes I've worked with are girls who've actually managed their cycles so that they can actually perform at the peak of their cycle. The idea is that if you listen to your body, you can recognise how your menstrual cycle affects you. And if you know how it affects you, then you can manage it well. So the most important way to do this is to learn to listen to your body by keeping information in a training diary. The training diaries you have, apart from recording all the work that you do, the volumes and the intensities, should also record information about how you respond to that type of work. And part of the information that you need to include is your menstrual cycle. And you can start with day one as the beginning of your periods and track it all the way through to the next period. So one of the things that we suggest is that athletes actually start to think about what type of training they can do during that time. The first part of the cycle, after about 3 days, is a great time to start maximising the benefits that you get from strength and power training. It's a time when your body feels lighter, when your nervous system is tuned, and it's an optimal time to gain those extra special degrees of improvement in your strength and power. During ovulation, which is about day 16, and this will vary from one girl to another. Now, no two girls are the same, it's very individual. From about that time on, there are benefits for the aerobic system. It means that you can metabolise the types of food that you eat better, and you can maximise your energy stores to get better advantages for developing your aerobic capacity. Then about 3 days before your periods start, you may not feel great. And it may be that you're retaining fluid, it may be a whole lot of other factors. You may have a lot of discomfort, you may not feel well. That's a time when it's not a good idea to introduce new types of training or skill training specifically. It's a really good opportunity to do a maintenance program when you can repeat the things you're already good at, but a slightly lower volume. Skill can be developed throughout the whole cycle, except it's not great during the 5 days, 3 days leading into, and the first 2 days of periods, when you may have a water retention and therefore may be a little heavier than normal. So your coordination may not be quite spot on. During the later stage of the luteal phase, just before your periods start, you may find that you start to get a bit moody. That's quite normal. And sometimes what it's referred to as premenstrual stress, because there are things that are happening to you that you don't feel good about in terms of your weight and your self-perception. So you may start to lose a little bit of self-confidence, you may start to feel a little bit edgy, and you may start to be a bit snappy with your colleagues. That is a normal response, but you need to still manage it. And so recognising it is the first stage, knowing how to manage it is the second stage. So it's a normal response. Be aware of the fact that your friends may also be like that. So be a little bit more empathetic during that time. This whole process goes on every month. Now, some girls will take 28 days to have a full cycle, some may take 32, some may only take 26. It is so individual that it's really important that you record your own responses and how long it takes. Now, that doesn't mean that you'll never be able to train well during that time. What it means is that in the early stages, when you're quite young, you can learn to manage it, because there will be times when you're going to have to compete when you are having your periods. It just means that at the beginning you can learn to manage it, and then when it comes to the later stages, you can actually manage it so that you can still perform well. Many Olympic records and many world records have been broken by females who are menstruating at the time that they're competing at that level. So it's not impossible, but you need to recognise it and manage it really well.
Often when girls start to get their periods, they can be quite irregular, and this is normal. But sometimes outside influences, such as stress, weight loss, intense training and illness can make the periods be delayed. Alternatively, tapering, resting and holidays can cause them to come early. So it's really important to always be prepared and carry supplies just in case.
Well, first of all, if you're going to be prepared, what you need to do is make sure that you understand what's going to happen. If it's your first time, then you need to be able to talk to someone, preferably your parents and a sports medicine person, about what you need to do and how you need to manage your periods. It may be that they're very easy to manage. It may be that you have heavy blood flow or light blood flow. It's really important that you understand how to manage these things beforehand. If you're prepared and you have all the equipment you need, your pads, and if you have some pain relief, if you have very painful periods, then that means that it's an appropriate thing to do. But always, always check with your sports medicine doctor about what sort of medication you can take, because some medications are not necessarily the ones that are allowed by the sport. So it's really important to get that advice in advance and know how to use those things properly.
Some medical conditions can cause periods to become irregular or to stop. And in athletes, there may be a reduction in periods if they're using more energy than they're replacing. This can cause what we call an energy drain and excessively low body fat. Although some athletes may think this sounds like a good thing, it can be potentially very harmful, causing fatigue, illnesses, and a reduced ability to train and compete. In the long term, the energy drain can lead to weakened bones and stress fractures that can end sporting careers and cause disability. Having a regular monthly period is one of the signs of a fit, healthy female body. You should see a doctor if your periods haven't established by 16 years of age, or if your periods change. Some older athletes may take the pill so that they can skip their periods during times of competition. Others may have problems with their periods being irregular or painful, and sometimes the pill can be taken to overcome this. Athletes below the age of 16 are generally discouraged from taking the pill and should talk to their doctor about it. It's important to realise that taking the pill does not prevent the health problems caused by an inadequate energy intake, even though your periods may return while you're on the pill. It's false reassurance.
Weight is made up of lots of different things. It's made up of your muscles, your bones, your water in your body. So around period time, sometimes you can get a little increase to your weight just because you tend to retain a bit more fluid. And probably around that time, not having a lot of salt added to your diet and things can help you to not gain as much water in that situation. One of the common nutrients that people ask us about is, do we need to supplement iron intake because we're losing it during the bleeding that happens during a period? We actually don't lose that much blood during a period. It's about as much as a third of a cup in a total period time. But girls are at a higher risk of having iron deficiency. The best way to look at it is having a good variety in our diet, so getting things in like some red meat. But if you get shown to be iron deficient, you will need some iron supplementation to help that.
Some female athletes, they can feel empty, a little bit flat before they actually get their periods. Understand as a female athlete that this can have a big impact and effect on your training and how you perform. Don't be worried about this. Find the people around you where you feel comfortable about talking to this, and ensure that you'll learn more and more about yourself, and in the future you'll be a better athlete therefore. For me as a coach, it's important that I have a good relationship with the athlete and the athlete trusts me and can communicate that to me. If I sense that the girl is maybe not comfortable talking to me about this issue, then I seek the advice from the mom and we develop together a plan how to deal with this issue in the future. This is how I try to deal with this matter, but obviously every coach has to find his or her own solution to this problem. For some, it's as well an opportunity to talk to the parents, or especially to the mom of that swimmer, and create a relationship that way, to feel comfortable talking about it, whether it's for the athlete or for the coach.
Having a period is no excuse for poor performance. Even the best in the world have had their periods while they were competing. You can always use your menstrual cycle to get the optimal performance out of yourself. When I was younger, going to my first age nationals, I was only 14 at the time, I had to deal with competing with my period. I had a manager come up to me and tell me you're at your strongest and peak performance when you have your period. And that actually made me swim so much better. I was so much more relaxed, I accepted it so much more and felt so much more powerful. And that was the first time I ever won an age national championship.
My advice to you, believe in your dreams, believe in yourself.
I just like to think that food is an important part of our lives and one that should be seen to be pleasurable. It needs to be something that we have for nutrients, we have for performance, but that we control food, not that it controls us.
If there was one piece of advice that I could give a swimmer, it's to learn to listen to your body. Recognise how it's feeling, know when you can push yourself hard and know when you can back off. All the best high performance and Olympic athletes that I've ever worked with know themselves well.
Puberty, like any change, can be challenging, but it's important to realise that these changes are normal and shouldn't stop you from having a fit, healthy body and enjoying your sport.
One piece of advice that I would give a growing female athlete is to use your body to its greatest advantage. Use your strengths and be aware that as time goes on and you do grow and develop, that those strengths may change.
Whatever level you achieve in your swimming, it is a fantastic sport with some fantastic opportunities. So my final piece of advice is love what you do and really enjoy the people that you do it with.
You know what, guys? Swimming is a great sport. It's fun, so don't take it too seriously.
Don't you know it's all right to be what you got?
Don't you know what it does?
All right.
To be what you got.
You got it. That's it.
Don't you know it's all right?
Don't you know it's alright?
To be what you got.
To be what you got.
Well, I said it's alright to be what you got. Don't try to front, 'cause it's what you're not. It's what you're not. It's all good to just love yourself, 'cause of you. Express to someone else. The streets are busy with the sound of stress. From every blue-collar worker to the daily press. They are chasing dirty money in the name of greed. But if you want happiness, that's not what you need. Well, I said it's alright to be what you got.